Hi, and welcome to COVID-19 Parenting. I'm Julie Jobak, school counselor at Arroyo.
And I'm Teresa Wace, marriage and family therapist in downtown San Carlos. And I'm also part of the mental health team here in the San Carlos School District.
Today is our third installment of Sibling Rivalry. And today, what we would love to do is share some resources with you and some personal experiences.
I'd like to share the first resource, Julie. This is absolutely my favorite resource for sibling rivalry. It's a book, Siblings Without Rivalry. I find it has some extensive and outstanding examples of how to help kids through their fights with their siblings. Let me give you some examples of a few things that are in the book. Item one is, as a parent, instead of dismissing negative feelings that we hear from our kids, it's hard to listen to the negative feelings, acknowledge them. Let me give you an example. Let's say a child comes up to you and says, "Mom, Jesse said I talk like a moron." You could say, "Oh, just ignore him." Or you could reframe that and acknowledge his feelings. Wow, a comment like that could make you mad. And your child could answer, "Oh, yeah, it did." You just validated the child's feelings. That's usually what they need, is to be heard. Let's give you another example. Let's say we had a kid come up to a parent. "Oh, Lisa only burps when I'm around." As a parent, we could say, "Big deal, it's just a burp." Now, that's not going to acknowledge their feelings or what they're going through. How about this one as a parent? "You feel she does it to irritate you." And your child could say, "Yes." Their feelings are acknowledged. And it starts the conversation that helps us teach them how to tolerate each other, how to fight fairly. Let's talk about another one. If a child goes into some fantastic feelings, they're hard to listen to sometimes as parents. Like, "He was talking so negatively about me with friends." You can say, "Oh, honey, boys will be boys. They do that." Or we can say, "That looks to me like it hurt your feelings. Do you wish he'd show more kindness to his sister?" And again, it validates their feelings. Even if they go off into something like she's making it up about, she wasn't there, she didn't know he's talking negative, she's assuming. It makes a big difference for kids when we listen to them. And we can help them name the feeling that they're having. We don't always want to name it for them. We want to check in if we do. Is that how you're feeling? Let's talk another one. Let's say your child has hostile feelings towards their sibling. We can help them channel these hostile feelings in a more creative way or a more appropriate outlet, which we want them to be able to do. Like, let's say a child comes up to you and says, "Susie bosses me around all the time." We can say, "Oh, stop with the accusations. She's right most of the time. Just get over it." Another option is we could answer that with, "It's no fun being bossed around. Would you like to write down how it makes you feel or how it enrages you when she's bossing you around? Or would you like to draw a picture to show how you feel when you're being bossed around?" So those are just a few examples that come from the book, Siblings Without Rivalry, my all-time favorite tool for parents to read and keep in the house as a great reference for how to reframe and help your children feel heard. Julie, you've been a school counselor for a long period of time. Do you have any options and ideas for these parents to help their children with rivalry?
I do. And I love the resource you're sharing, Teresa, because it does help parents when dealing with their child, when the child's complaining or upset or what have you, really validating feelings and finding outlets for that. In my position, it's a little bit different because I typically will have the siblings come into my office together. It's one of the perks of working at both Arroyo and Central because, there are siblings. And so When I have them in my office, they both first agree to come. And what I'm sharing is something I think parents can do as well. It's not a school counselor, mystery. But bring them in with them both agreeing. And I usually talk to them ahead of time. Hey, do you want a problem solved? Do you want this relationship to get better? Do you want your sibling to understand you? And so they'll come in, usually very willing, but they'll have their masks on when they come in. And I don't mean COVID masks. I mean, I'm showing up in a way that I'm going to defend myself, because we're going to be talking about how we argue and fight. And so we have to break through that. And what we do is we set some ground rules. And, number one is we don't interrupt people when they're talking. And we will all get a chance to talk. In fact, more than once, because sometimes we get anxious, like, what if I forget to say something? So everyone will have a chance to talk as many times as they need to. And we don't do any put downs or name calling. I also let the kids come up with their own rules as well, to have that buy-in, so they feel like they're part of the process, because they are the most important part of the process. What I find is once we get the ground rules done and one of the siblings starts to share, I know the other sibling is starting to feel defensive. That's intrinsic to defend yourself, to not be the bad one in the situation or the one that's wrong. And so I am there as the adult to just remind everyone that we're not interrupting. And then I try to mirror what the student is telling me and asking them, is that what you said? And either they say, yes, it is, or no, that's not what I said. And they tell me again, and I try again. And what I'm doing is I'm modeling for the other sibling how to listen, and then how to mirror back what they've heard, to make sure there's understanding. Now, what happens is when this process is going on, is their hearts open, and they open wide, and you can see it and you can feel it. The energy shifts. That doesn't mean everything's fine and dandy. What that means is they are finally letting those masks down a little bit, and they're opening up, and they're seeing each other for who they really are. And 9 out of 10 times, there are lots of tears, and they're healing tears, because we know that with siblings, and I know this firsthand, I have a little brother, is that you love your siblings more than anything. Yet they can also make you the maddest you've ever felt in your life. And it's very complicated. So if someone were to talk negatively about your sibling, you would be the first one to defend them. Yet you can turn around and be saying those same things about your sibling, and it's fine. So it can be very confusing, not just for kids, but for adults too, this relationship. But what I think is the most important is learning how to talk to each other and listen. Most kids I've worked with over the years have shared with me the one thing they really want in life is to be heard. They want an adult listening to them. So when we can prove that we're listening with the examples you gave, Teresa, with your awesome book, and with this conflict mediation, we call it, that we are learning how to listen to each other and have an open heart so that we can work towards some type of understanding. So as a parent or guardian, instead of being the referee, you can think of yourself as a sports announcer, and that you're just saying what you're seeing and adding in the feelings like you talked about earlier, Teresa, to ask, is that how it's making you feel? Because sometimes kids don't have the vocabulary that we do yet, and they're searching for a feeling and a word that match up. And so while I don't think this will change everything overnight, what I truly believe is that with consistency and baby steps towards this sitting down and being able to talk and listen to one another and try to problem solve, that over the years, siblings will create this incredible bond, more so than they currently have. And what that leads to is this amazing adult relationship where they will have each other for the rest of their lives, and they'll be able to get through the hard times because they've learned as kids how to do it.
Oh, I love that. How to navigate their differences and the reality and fact that each and every one of us can be irritating, can be difficult. It's part of a bunch of complex brains in a family. And the more we become aware of our own idiosyncrasies or where we're irritating or difficult, the more we open up and listen to other people and have more compassion and empathy for theirs. So I loved what you've said. The thing that I particularly love is how important it is as parents to both step back a little, but also be there to help them learn how to fight fair and respectfully with each other. That's going to make a huge difference in dealing with our children when they are engaged in especially hot, heated sibling rivalry. We got to get curious instead of furious.
Oh, I
So,
love that. Yeah.
wow, I hope that we've all learned something from our talk here today. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Julie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.